Thank you, Dean Thompson, and welcome to all new members of our community. It's dark up here. And I have bad vision. The light won't help, it's the eyes. It's all right. Save that. No, I don't need it. I don't know. Early this summer, I was reading over one of the books I was considering for my tutorial on war. The book is by B.H. Liddell Hart and is entitled Strategy. Liddell Hart was a scholarly soldier and a friend of all the right sorts of Englishmen in the first half of the 20th century. His book offers the thesis that the greatest strategists in our civilization followed a path towards victory which emphasized indirection, sometimes long and laborious, sometimes rapid. But the critical campaigns always were preceded by a rout not commonly seen or of a broad flanking movement. Years after the first edition of the book, Liddell Hart wrote, quote, "With deepened reflection, I began that the indirect approach had a much wider application. That is, it is a law of life in all spheres, a truth of philosophy," unquote. I thought, how bold, how fascinating. The indirect approach is a law of life in all spheres, a truth of philosophy. Now, I typically don't go to British officers for my philosophy, but neither do I snub anyone who seems morally good and thoughtful and gives me something interesting to ponder. And the more I have thought about this, the more I think there is something to it. It has reminded me considerably of the books of Caesar, the book in particular that he wrote while he was writing his Gallic commentaries, a work on the analogical nature of language. It reminded me as well of St. Augustine's concept of the regio dissimilitudinis, the land of unlikeness. For both these men, Caesar and Augustine, when language and thought lost its power to refer the mind of one man to things beyond his own mind, the result was the same: chaos, the death of the community, a lessening of humanity, strife, and for St. Augustine, isolation from God himself. Juniors and seniors will remember some of the basic lessons learned in reading Understanding Poetry. Man likes, needs, is made to understand and express himself indirectly when his mental powers are well formed. When they are, simile, metaphor, symbolism, allusion proceed not by direct communication of thought, but by indirect. Language itself, even when stripped of stylistic devices that refer one thing to another, language itself is a sign that communicates an idea or a thought. Man is himself an image, the imago Dei. He must ponder the image in such a way so that his mind is lifted up to higher realities. At the beginning of each term, the faculty and the staff meet in what is called the College Council. At the first meeting of every academic year, we read aloud the mission statement of the college and speak about that mission and the implication of the words. The official mission statement has evolved over time, but it currently reads as follows. Thomas More College of Liberal Arts was founded to provide a solid education in the liberal arts, a Catholic education for all students of all faiths, united in the quest for what is true, good, and beautiful. It pursues this mission by seeking wisdom and sharing it joyfully with the world. Those 51 words provide a simple statement of purpose, and by extension, a simple statement of governance for our actions. Explicit mission statements became trendy about 30 or 40 years ago, but we can find things like mission statements in some of the greatest works of literature if we look. Think of Book 6 of the Aeneid. Toward the end of that book, Aeneas completes his visionary tour of the underworld, the past and the future. He and the reader hear the famous words, Tu regere imperio populos Romane memento, He tibi erunt artes, pacique imponere amorem, parcere subjectis, et delibare superbos. Remember, Roman, that for you it is to rule the earth's people by your imperium. These are your arts, to establish the rule of law with resolve, to spare the conquered, but to battle down the proud. Other classical texts present long verbal and visual images of a community's mission. Here I have recently been drawn to this by discussions of the image of the just city that we contemplate in Plato's Republic, or the more mysterious, the image of the shield of Achilles, or that of Aeneas. So, with my mind fixed on the way of indirection and images as a way to help us move from confusion to clarity, war to peace, chaos to order, ignorance to knowledge, I suggest that we meditate upon, I recall to our memory the shield of the college, a way to contemplate the mission of this college. The shield, or the crest of our college, represents your arms. They're your arms. Arma verumque cano. They are your arms. You bear them while students and after you leave. As you probably know, a coat of arms was designed to identify a person, a family, or a community on the field of battle or amidst other contests in life. Through the symbolism of colors, shapes, images, the coat of arms tried to express the self-understanding of those who stood behind the arms. What was their character? What were their dreams? What was their mission? In the very traditional language of heraldry, the description, the blazon, of our coat of arms would read, in fact does read, thus. So if you picture in your mind the coat of arms of the college, on the entrance to the college, on every piece of stationery, the website, the catalog, here's how you would express that in words. On a field of jewels, that is to say red, an engrailed chevron sable, that is to say black, and 3 escalloped shells, 2 and 1, ore, that is to say gold. On a chief sable, between 2 swords, the mystical rose, Jules, barbed, vert. So think of our shield. At the top, the rose is flanked by 2 golden swords. Think of them as the swords of faith and reason, the spiritual and the temporal, the intellectus and the ratio, the contemplative life and the life of action. Things brought together in the life of St. Thomas More and proposed for our lives. Now, our college patron, St. Thomas More, is of course closely associated with humanism and the temporal side. Note, when you look at that shield, the two swords are drawn, protecting both flanks of the rose. What is the rose? Is it the Tudor rose that represents worldly power? Is it the mystical rose, rather, that represents the world transformed by the love and mercy of God? It is both of these and much else. One could speak of the symbolic meaning of the colors and the shapes, but I will only comment on one other object on our shield, our coat of arms, this evening. The three escalloped shells. Have you ever thought about the shells? These shells invoke the sea and all that that means to men of our civilization. They invoke the arms of St. James of Compostela and all that he stands for in our civilization. They symbolized determined wanderers and pilgrims of sacred and literary history, especially the great seafarers who crossed from foreign lands in search of home. Odysseus seeking Ithaca, which I, like the fathers of the church, enjoy seeing as an image of our Lord and of the Christian life. The wanderer, the homo viator, the pilgrim moving towards Jerusalem, Jerusalem itself, or Jerusalem as a symbol of the new and coming Jerusalem. From the early Middle Ages to the Elizabethan age, men and women were seen as travelers en route to some higher destination. The student and the scholar in particular understood themselves as pilgrims. In the Middle Ages, students and scholars were called the preeminent example of homo viator, the wandering person, the wandering man, the man on the road, the man on a path, the man on a journey. Pilgrimage has come in this college by trial and determination, not entirely by anyone's plan, to be a central feature of our pursuit of Thomas More's mission. It's strange to me. The dean made a traditional joke that we start traditions, and so we do, and most of them are good. Many of them stick. There are a few we've inherited. Most of the traditions are inspired by the people up here. There are a few that are not. Compline, Rosary, certain student devotions, the Marian Grotto. There are certain things that just arose through no planning, no initiative, no foresight of the faculty. In a way, pilgrimage is one of these. All of you must go to Rome. That's true. That's one shell on your shield. But there are three shells. And so I urge you tonight to think about that, to think about how you would fulfill what is proposed by the shield, by your arms. One shell is Rome. You all must pilgrimage to Rome. What are the other two shields? Many of you will go to Auriesville soon. That is good and noble. We make it hard by conducting classes, but we allow it. We encourage it. I highly encourage it. In a similar way, we allow, some of us go to Washington for the March for Life, 2 American pilgrimages. Very simple, over the course of 4 years. Surely one of those is within your sight. Auriesville, Washington. Some Thomas More students and alumni go to Compostela in Spain. Some travel up the spine of this state to St. Anne de Beaupré. Some aspire to go to Jerusalem. I would ask you, over the next academic year to consider how you will fulfill what is proposed by the three shells. Spend some time contemplating over the next 26 weeks the shield of Thomas More College, those of your arms, forged for you in God's furnace of love, which you must carry to distant shores, on trials, and even on the hardest interior journeys. I am now on a far voyage, Sir Thomas More said in today's play. So are we all. What we see and read should never, ever lead us to the regio dissimilitudinis, the land of unlikeness, where we see nothing corresponding to anything else, where nothing reminds us of our Creator, where nothing lifts us up to God. We should never be in that land. We should always proceed through contemplative analogy. Let your contemplation of every image make firm your resolve to humbly proceed on your own adventures over your years that remain at Thomas More College.